Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, we're evaluating Kyle Schwarber's 2023 season, a very interesting one. The power was absolutely still there. He has it in spades, but the average dipped. The leadoff position he hit in was questioned. Will he continue to do that in future seasons with the Phillies? We'll talk about that in today's episode. And also, another congratulations to be handed out. Yearly awards, Bryce Harper, a Silver Slugger winner. I'll tell you just how impressive that is in today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is indeed Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for checking us out. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff. It really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. We're getting close to 2,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to everyone who's already jumped on the bandwagon. If you haven't, it costs you nothing. It takes 2 seconds of your time. You get new notifications when episodes are posted and everything like that. You definitely want to do it. It helps you stay up to date on the latest Philadelphia Phillies news. So please, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the YouTube for Locked On Phillies. I'd really appreciate it. And today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's Jase medical.com. Today, an interesting evaluation. A lot of these are very interesting. This one I was waiting for. The people asked for Kyle Schwarber in the comments. You get Kyle Schwarber. Remember, you guys are the ones deciding which evaluations I do at which time. I appreciate the continued interaction to tell me who you want to hear about. And yes, Kyle Schwarber is who we're going to evaluate today. Now, just an overview of his 2023 season. He was highly criticized at points for his average. He was below 200 for a lot of the year. He actually finished up batting average-wise at 197 for the 2023 season. There were points where he cleared 200, and then he dipped right back down. But the power was still there. So why were people worried about him not hitting for average if he hits for power? Because he was batting leadoff for a lot of the year. It's a super weird season to evaluate. One of the weirdest in MLB history. You talk about, when you see guys like Kyle Schwarber, 3 true outcome hitters. And what that means is legitimately their bats end one of 3 ways, and that's it. Either you have a strikeout, you have a walk, you have a home run. That is a true power hitter to the max in modern day baseball. And that's the type of year that Kyle Schwarber put together. I mean, look at these numbers. He had 215 strikeouts. He had 126 walks, and he ended up hitting 47 home runs. Like, that's about, so let's do the math there. 47 plus 126 is like 173 plus 215. That's 388. 388 outcomes in 585 at-bats. Like, a large majority of his at-bats ended in those 3 outcomes. It's wild, but that's kind of how Kyle Schwarber is right now as a hitter in Major League Baseball, and he's the ethos of the modern-day power hitter. The weird thing is he's batting leadoff. Now, there are reasons to that, right? And we're going to talk a little bit later on in the episode about whether or not he'll continue to hit leadoff for this team. But I want to evaluate the numbers for 2023 first and look at how he did, and if this indeed was another one of those seasons where it was like, okay, the power outweighed the issues with the average. So let's look how he did. In 2022, he had 577 at-bats. This year, 585. So very similar sample size when it comes to the at-bats. Like, I don't know. What is that? 8 more at-bats this year? Runs. He scored 108 runs this year, 100 last year. So better in that sense. He had 126 hits last year, 115 this year. So it went down in the hits column. That's why the average dropped. Home runs. He hit 46 last year to lead the National League. This year, 47, one more than that. The next highest in his career, besides these past 2 years, was 38 back in 2019 with the Chicago Cubs. He had never cleared 40 before becoming a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. He's hit 46 and 47 home runs in the past 2 seasons. That's insane. Like, he's almost hit 100 home runs in 2 seasons. That's nuts, folks. Like, that's next level power. That's peak Ryan Howard. That's the type of power hitting we haven't seen since literally Ryan Howard was a member of this team. So that's something that is a huge, huge value for the Philadelphia Phillies. Also, in the RBIs, he only had 94 last year. That was a big criticism. He hit 46 home runs and didn't clear 100 RBIs. How is that possible? He got to 104 this year. So that can't be a critique again. No stolen bases in 2023. He had 10 in 2022. Just not as much time on base, I suppose, and a different philosophy. Here's something very impressive. So Kyle Schwarber last year had 86 walks. It was by far the most in his career. It was 8 higher than his next highest total, which was 2018 in Chicago, where he had 78. This year, 126 walks. He upped that total by 40. That is just insane production as far as getting on base. It shows you the approach that Kyle Schwarber has is outstanding. He sees the ball so well. And that's the difference between him and a power hitter who strikes out a bunch. Is Kyle Schwarber's also going to walk a wild amount. He does not chase very often. He has a great feel for the zone. That's a huge upside. To see those numbers jump that much, 86 to 126, unbelievable growth in getting on base. Now, he also struck out 15 more times. 215 this year, 200 last year. Both of those numbers led baseball in those respective years. But the slash lines, let's look at it. Last year, he batted 218. This year, 197. So you say, okay, he had a worse year. Well, let's look at the rest of the slash. OBP last year, 323. This year, up to 343, 20 points higher. Last year, slugging, 504. This year, 474. So slugging's down, but he hit one more home run. Why is that? Well, he had 21 doubles last year and 3 triples. This year, 19 doubles, 1 triple. So he didn't really have those extra base hits in the same way. OPS, 827 last year, 817 this year. I don't know. He was very much on par with last season. Very much. The average was just a little bit lower, and he hit one more home run. I look at that and I say, okay, you're basically getting consistency out of Kyle Schwarber. You really are. I have no issue with that at all. I don't. He is what he is, right? Is he a flawed player? Technically, yes. Like, you'd want him to hit for average better. But over the course of his career, you're just looking at what his batting average is. He's a 227 career hitter. He averages over 162 games. His average is 41 home runs. So he's been above average in that, and 91 RBIs. Been above average in that. He's been above average in basically every one of his yearly statistics since joining the Philadelphia Phillies. Like, when you look at his career averages, he's been better for the Phillies than he has been for any other team. And that's positive. Like, that's all you could really ask for from Kyle Schwarber, right? Be better for us than you were for other teams because we're paying you more money. He's getting the job done. I think the biggest holdup with Kyle Schwarber is the fact that he bats leadoff. Oh, by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the defense. He's great as a designated hitter. If Kyle Schwarber ever plays left field again for the Philadelphia Phillies, I'll lose my mind. Like, not like one-off games. I'm talking about consistently is the starting left fielder for this team. He was by far and away the worst defensive player in all of baseball last year, or this year, I should say. 261 of 261 and outs above average. He's fallen over his own feet out there in left field. Can't run, can't field, has trouble catching sometimes. Like, it's just not worth it to have him out there at all. Thank goodness Bryce Harper's healthy. Kyle Schwarber is your DH going forward. Let's make that abundantly clear. He is not playing the field anymore for this team. But as a DH, he's about as good as one as you can ask for. Create power, create opportunities to score. And he does that every time he walks to the plate. So, yes, Kyle Schwarber's a guy that is still a very, very valuable player, will be on this team next year, will be DHing for this team, and is going to be a huge part of whether or not this team wins. And I believe he's a positive for this team. But coming up, as we looked at a 2023 that was actually strikingly similar to his 2022, just with some slight differences in the areas he produced, I want to talk about the $1 million question that people had throughout this year. Is Kyle Schwarber going to continue to bat leadoff for this team? It's a great question and one that I believe I have the answer for. We'll continue that as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at Jase Medical. You and I spend a lot of time talking together, don't we? I mean, you listen to Locked On Phillies all the time. We get fired up together with wins, losses, everything. Who starts and who sits. I'm thankful for that connection we have. And today, I want our chat to be a little bit more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means, right? Bring it on extended travel. Bring on the next natural disaster, supply chain issue, anything that could possibly disrupt you getting your prescriptions. Doesn't matter. You're covered. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your prescriptions for, Cialis, Viagra, Revatio, anything like that. This is possible because of our friends over at Jase Medical. Go online right now at jasemedical.com, and you can receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. We'll give you a discount. It's perfect. And a verified customer had this to say about Jase, right? I am thankful for their service. The supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. You don't want to be taking half doses. Come on, guys. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. It says it all right there. I mean, if you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a yearly supply of any daily medication, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Jase Medical helps you be prepared for the unprepared. So go ahead and check them out. That's JASEmedical.com. All right, here's the $1 million question. Will Kyle Schwarber continue to hit leadoff in 2023 or 4? Forgot the year for a second. In 2024, things could change. Nick Castellanos apparently is on the trading block, which I told you yesterday's episode I think is kind of dumb. We'll see how that all plays out. But this team may look different starting lineup-wise than it did last year. Bryson Stott has come into his own as a great contact hitter. Trey Turner seems to be a prototypical leadoff hitter. If he produces more, maybe he fits into that spot. But Kyle Schwarber, for the majority of the 2023 season, was your leadoff hitter, and it drove people insane. How do you have a leadoff hitter that hits 190 whatever? How do you have a leadoff hitter that clogs up the base pass? How do you have a leadoff hitter that just tries and hits home runs? How do you have a leadoff hitter that strikes out 215 times the most in baseball? How is that possible? Why are you doing it? Everyone take a deep breath. First of all, the Philadelphia Phillies win when Kyle Schwarber is the leadoff hitter. Their record when he bats leadoff for this team is insane. There's a lot of contributing factors to that. It's hard to break down exactly what goes into the formula that causes Kyle Schwarber to make the Phillies win when he bats leadoff, but the Philadelphia Phillies win when he bats leadoff. They just do. He's a catalyst for victories. That's ultimately what you're trying to do. You're trying to win baseball games, and Kyle Schwarber helps you do that when he bats leadoff. So that's point number one. But point number two, there's more to being a leadoff hitter than just creating opportunities on the base paths. It's about being a really, really good evaluator of what pitchers are throwing. Now, this is something that was brought up to me by Jake Mintz of Cespedes Family Barbecue. And you can listen to their stuff on the Baseball Barbecast. They do great work over there. We've had them on the program before, Jake Mintz and Jordan Schusterman. They jumped on and they talked a little bit about Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. And Jake Mintz told me that Kyle Schwarber is an elite level talent at recognizing pitches. And that's super important. He goes out there, he has a long at bat, he sees what pitchers are throwing. He's great at communicating to other players on the team what they need to look at when they go out there to hit. That's invaluable to have at the leadoff spot. It really is. Could you imagine having the full scouting report on how a guy's stuff looks by batter number 2, and your leadoff hitter might have hit a home run? That's something that we don't evaluate as normal fans. We just see whether or not he hits a home run or gets on base or whatever. We don't think often about how he could see a lot of pitches, which he does. He puts together great at-bats, and how he can communicate that to other players on the team. So when Trey Turner comes up, he knows slider ain't breaking today. You get one, he's hanging it. Changeup, he was choking it out. It seems like he's going to be dirting a lot of those. Fastball has a little extra zip. Get ready for it. all that stuff. Kyle Schwarber's able to recognize that. He has an insane feel for just pitch recognition and pitcher data points, like evaluating what the other guy's throwing. That's super valuable. On top of that, he has one of the best OPS numbers for a leadoff hitter in Philadelphia Phillies history. Like, he's equaling prime Jimmy Rollins. If you could add prime Jimmy Rollins to this team as a leadoff hitter, would you do it? I think every Phillies fan right now is screaming yes. Well, Kyle Schwarber is doing that in the power numbers, and on base percentage with the amount of walks that he has. It doesn't look like a typical leadoff hitter, but it gets the job done. That's the thing. Like, you have to go ahead and be open to new opportunities. We get so caught up in prototypes. What does the prototypical second baseman look like to you? Righty, short guy, rangy, not a lot of power, pretty good contact hitter, pretty good glove, less of an arm than a shortstop, right? What does the typical catcher look like to you? A little stocky, bigger of a backstop, guy that might not be as fast, but rocket arm, quick reactions, everything like that. Tough guy, probably a little bit more compact, not short, but shorter. What does the textbook, like, prototypical starting pitcher look like? 6'3", 6'4", rocket arm, lengthy, built enough that he can handle workload, basically Zach Wheeler, right? Like, we get caught up in the prototypical look of players at certain positions. And leadoff hitter, it's a guy that hits for contact, maybe a little bit of pop, creates opportunities on the base pass, has a good eye, has good pitch recognition, and he's like a rangy, athletic guy. That's not Kyle Schwarber, so we immediately say, why is he batting leadoff? But he does a lot of those things. Listen, he gets on base with the walks. He can hit the ball out of the yard 47 times a year. That's insane from the leadoff spot, because what that does is it gives you a quickly, like, we saw how much early home runs can impact postseason baseball, or just baseball in general. Kyle Schwarber brings that to you. Plus, you want a guy who's getting 47 home runs a season to have as many opportunities as possible. Like, he had a walk-off against the Dodgers partway through the season with 2 outs, where it was the 9th or 10th inning, and Kyle Schwarber hit the walk-off. And the only reason he got up in that spot with 2 outs is because he was batting leadoff, and he got an extra at-bat because they put him at the top of the order. Like, you want to have your best players get more at-bats, and Kyle Schwarber's one of your best hitters. He's absolutely going to bat leadoff again in 2024 because they just win so much with him there. It might not look like the most typical lineup. It might not feel like the best option, but I'm telling you, with this team, unless you go out and you get like a bona fide leadoff hitter that's proven to work, and you find another spot that Kyle Schwarber's comfortable hitting, he's going to be your leadoff hitter in 2024. And I firmly believe that he should be, because at the end of the day, I don't root for the Philadelphia Phillies to have a good leadoff hitter. I root for the Philadelphia Phillies to win. That's what I want. I want W's on the record book. And Kyle Schwarber, when he bats leadoff, creates W's. The Phillies win when he bats there. He hits home runs when he bats there. He gets on base via the walk when he bats there. He recognizes pitches and communicates to his teammate when he bats there. I don't know what more you could be looking for from a leadoff hitter. Nobody's a perfect player. And if you're going to have to go with someone imperfect, Kyle Schwarber's imperfections have led to you winning a lot of baseball games over the past couple of years. And that's my evaluation of his 2023 and whether or not he'll be batting leadoff for the Philadelphia Phillies in 2024. Now, coming up, congratulations are in order once again. Bryce Harper, another award for the trophy case. We'll discuss exactly what that is, how he won it, and how impressive it is as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Yes, Bryce Harper has taken home the Silver Slugger for National League DH in 2023. Excuse me, my voice is going a little bit. I get choked up when I see Bryce Harper win awards. No, I'm playing, but it's a huge, huge asset to have a guy that can be a Silver Slugger candidate every year at whatever position he plays. But this year especially, it's just insane that he was able to take home this award. You think about it. He comes into the season not available, on the injured list due to recovery from Tommy John surgery. He comes back and he's like the fastest recovery ever of any athlete from Tommy John surgery. Like, it's not even close. That's already insane. Like, just to play. He could have missed, like, some of the projections had him missing up to the All-Star break. Dude, not even close. He was back for like 2.5 months before the All-Star break. That's a wild recovery time. Not only that, but he was productive. Now, he did hit a little bit of a power stretch where he was, or a power outage, I guess I should call it, where he just wasn't hitting the ball out of the yard for a long stretch of the season, but he was still hitting around 300 during that time. He was creating gap-to-gap power, just not out of the yard power. And then the power stroke started coming, and he ended up having a great, great year. He wins the Silver Slugger. I mean, that's insane. These guys he was DHing for a lot of the year before he was cleared to come back and play first base. You remember he played first base for like a month's worth of the season or so. Maybe a little bit more than that, if I'm remembering correctly. But he was mostly a DH, which made Kyle Schwarber have to be in left field, which sucked. But still, it made Bryce Harper eligible for DH Silver Slugger. And when he was there, I mean, he was as good as any designated hitter in all of baseball. It's a shame that Kyle Schwarber was playing left field because he probably would have won the Silver Slugger if he was eligible as a DH too. But for Bryce Harper to come off that injury, play not a full season, and have such a long stretch where he's not hitting the ball out of the yard and still do enough to win a Silver Slugger award at designated hitter, where you put guys who are just there to hit, this guy's a superhuman. He's next level. It's an unbelievable accomplishment. Now, unfortunately, the other guys who were in the conversation for Silver Slugger did not end up winning. It was Romuto, Schwarber. There's one more. Maybe it was Castellanos. Like 4 guys qualified for Silver Slugger. I don't know. I'm not remembering. But bottom line is Harper was the only one that took one home. But just, it's such a testament to how tough this guy is, how clutch he is, how much he just shows up for this team day in and day out. I understand how the season ended. What I can't have is people who saw this postseason end start this narrative that like Bryce Harper's not clutch or he doesn't show up in big spots. He does. There are problems with this team that need to be addressed. There are things that you need to fix over the course of the offseason. Bryce Harper is not one of them. He's just not. He's the perfect baseball player. I love everything about him. I can't wait to watch him play first base. He's going to win Silver Slugger for first base next year. Like, he just is. He's unbelievable. And congrats to Bryce Harper on winning his Silver Slugger, the 3rd of his career, the 2nd as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies, the other one coming in 2021 during his MVP season, of course. So there you have it. More awards lauded to number 3, MV3, Bryce Harper. Hopefully more to come in a Philadelphia Phillies uniform, but just wanted to update you with that Phillies news as far as that's concerned. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for checking us out. Hopefully you like that evaluation of Kyle Schwarber for the 2023 season. Now remember, you're picking the evaluations for what player. Now, this is Friday, so we've got till Monday until the next one. Jump in the comments of this episode. Let me know who you want me to evaluate next. We haven't done any pitchers yet, so we can jump in on that. The players that we've already done: Bryce Harper, Bryson Stott, Yohan Rojas, Alec Bohm, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos. Those are the guys that we've knocked out. And I want you to, or did I say Brandon Marsh too? We evaluated Brandon Marsh too. So a couple of starting position players, a couple of bench guys, the whole starting rotation, the bullpen, all these guys still available to evaluate. Let me know in the comments who you want me to evaluate next in Monday's episode, and we'll get that going, pending any type of big Philadelphia Phillies news this weekend with free agency or anything like that. I don't see them making a move this early, but we'll see. So, yeah, again, let me know in the comments who you want me to evaluate next. That's all for Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for checking us out. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I'll talk to you after the weekend on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.